Okay, Mr. and Mrs. Monroe, now I'd like to move on to my recommendations. First, I'd like to start off with talking about the mortgage that you have in your home. Currently, there is a 30-year mortgage on the house that has an interest rate of about 9.25%. However, this is a little bit high by today's standards. In fact, currently, you can find a 15-year mortgage with an interest rate of 3.5%. And actually, that's what I would advise. However, you might be thinking to yourself, how are we going to be able to make these monthly payments? Aren't they going to skyrocket because we're going to be paying off the home within 15 years instead of 30? And generally, the answer is yes to that. However, in this case, that's not so much true. Because your interest rate is so high at 9.25%, so much of your monthly payments is going towards interest itself and not even paying off the home, going towards the principal. With this new mortgage that I recommend in refinancing the home of 15 years, not only would we be able to reach our goal of paying off the house before we retire, but on top of that, we'd be saving money every single month and annually in payments. In fact, it would be thousands of dollars. So absolutely, this is a no-brainer, and this is something that we need to work on immediately. In fact, I'd like to get done within the next 2 weeks. However, do keep in mind that there will be some closing costs associated with refinancing the home. In fact, it will be about $2,800. Now, this is a very small price to pay to refinance the home that will save you thousands of dollars over the course of the loan. In fact, I did the math on it. The difference in a 30-year loan at 9.25% and a 15-year loan at 3.5% would be over $180,000. So hopefully you can see why this is so important to get done as soon as possible, not only to meet your goals, but to save extra money that you can be setting aside for the future and or retirement. Okay, next I'd like to move on to your insurance needs. Currently, I do see that both of you have life insurance policies. Karl, you have a whole life policy, and June has a term life policy through her employer. Now, there's generally nothing inherently wrong with whole life policies. However, they tend to be set up very poorly and don't provide the most efficient rates of return. Currently, Karl, we see that your life insurance policy is earning about 6% a year in what you accumulate in cash value. However, based on looking at what I have in my portfolio recommendations, we can do a little bit better than that. Furthermore, I do also see that both of you are underinsured for life insurance. God forbid, if anything was to happen to either of you in your current situation, it would be very difficult for the surviving spouse to meet all the goals that you both have outlined for yourselves and for the kids. We don't want that. So what would I propose? Well, I'm proposing that Karl cashes out the current whole life value of his policy. Now, obviously, that means Karl would not be without any life insurance, but that means we would immediately turn around and look for a term life policy for about 30 years, and that would be considerably cheaper. Now, also, furthermore, it would provide more coverage. In fact, I recommend that Karl would have $650,000 in coverage, while June gets an additional $450,000 on top of the term policy that she currently has through her employer. Now, obviously, it sounds like, well, this sounds ridiculous. I will be increasing the policy coverage. It will cost more in premiums. Well, actually not. Generally, a whole bunch of the money that you're currently paying into Karl is going towards the cash value of the policy, whereas that's not really needed. In fact, it will save you money and provide you with more adequate coverage. So, and if there's any residue, in fact, we would like to use that towards saving for our future goals or in a different separate account, which we can earn 7% a year instead of 6%. Whereas if we had to go deal with the cash value policy, a cash value from the whole life policy, we'd have to be paying interest to borrow money from ourselves. It's just kind of foolish. So let's look towards getting that. Furthermore, I'd like to look towards some other insurance needs. For example, umbrella insurance. Currently, there seems to be some gaps in your coverage for your rental property and your business. Should anything wrong happen there, you would both be very liable, and that would obviously be a massive problem. Generally, umbrella insurance policies are $1 million in coverage and can always be increased. $2 million is also average as well. However, I don't think we need too much more than $1 million at the moment, and costs should be relatively cheap. Granted, you do have a rental property and a business, so that will be higher than the average American family, but it is something that we should definitely look into. Furthermore, I'd like to look into workers' comp for the employers over at Monroe's. Currently, you have 5 employees, and in fact, actually, you plan on expanding in the future. So, should anything happen to your employees on the job, it puts you in a massive disadvantage, where potentially legally, and or you're without employees, and then salaries have to be paid, and hourly wages have to be paid. So, getting a workers' comp policy would always be advisable. Granted, it is not necessary in the state of Texas, so it is not a legal requirement. However, it is something that I definitely recommend, and at a cost of only a few $100s per month, because of the current low payroll that you have at Monroe's, it is definitely a wise investment in protection where you can mitigate risk. Now, I am licensed to sell life and health insurance in the state of Texas. However, property and casualty, I'm not licensed to do so. Furthermore, I have been dealing with a professional that deals with insurance for many, many years now. And he's great and often knows more than I do. So, in fact, I attached a business card to the front of your plan that has his information. I also briefed him on your current situation and explained to him what I think he would need and give him my recommendations as well. I'd like for you to reach out to him. In doing so, he will be able to find you the best rate and also be able to set this up a little bit more efficiently than I would. So obviously, I would be able to help you somewhat, but I think delegating some responsibilities to an outside professional would be more prudent for your situation.